Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is the one and only Derek Wardrobe. Derek is an old contact of mine from the industry. He has recently taken a new sort of career journey and career path for himself. Entrepreneur, running his own business. So I'm going to be catching up with him today. A lot of the time talking about how that's going, how he's ended up there, but also reflecting a little bit on his corporate experience. He worked for a business at Graco for many years, progressed through the ranks from a young age, and had a lot of success with that particular business in the sales capacity, leading sales teams and all that kind of stuff. So looking forward to catching up with Derek today. He's hopefully going to provide a lot of value to anyone in the world of sales, business, that kind of thing today. So Derek, with that introduction, mate, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe,
how are you getting on?
Thanks very much, mate. Great to have a chat with you, as always. Yeah, look forward to it.
Thank you, mate. So I'm going to start in the present. You've made this career move, start of this year. You've left Graco, you've started your own business, Total Service, network and Total Service as a business. Tell me a bit about what exactly that is. If someone didn't know anything about your company, what do you do? How are you and how are you helping people in that role?
What am I doing right now, I suppose? Yeah. I left the start of this year, Joe, and I didn't take me long to sort of think about what I wanted to do next as being that thing that was going to make me tick. You know what I mean? I've always had this drive to want to be my own man and sort of run my own show, and I never really knew in what capacity, right? So I really sort of found the home service space quite fascinating, quite interesting. And I've had a lot of bad experiences, I suppose, along the way when it comes to home service, waiting on people to arrive or get back to you or waiting on quotes and just forever being in this sort of state of like, this can't be that hard. It's got to be a better way, right? So, I started Total Home Pro, which is a shirt I'm wearing now. This is my brand new polo, by the way, Joe. What do you think?
I was going to say, love the merch.
Just arrived yesterday.
Love it.
And, so I'm doing a range of external cleaning services, I suppose. Like if you think about it, started off, I live in a country town and solar panels everywhere. And I was looking at all the solar and thinking, these need to be maintained. They need to be cleaned. And I thought, well, what I'm doing, if I was going to do solar cleaning, what else could I do while I'm up there? Well, gutter cleaning was the next obvious one. And then it kind of spiraled from there. I was like, well, solar, gutters, and then I might as well tackle everything external. So let's look at windows, let's look at house washing, let's look at pressure washing driveways. And as you know, Joe, I've been selling machinery for the better part of 12 years, but I was even selling machinery before my time at Graco. So I know my way around equipment and motors and everything else like that. So learning the how-tos was easy for me. But I just decided to tackle the external cleaning sort of services market, and so that's my business, Total Home Pro. And then in conjunction, along the same time, I've started a podcast called the Total Service Network, which I am basically just talking about my experiences in starting a service-based business from scratch.
Yeah.
I'm in all these Facebook groups, Joe, and there's so many people reaching out. How do we do this? How do you go about that? I've got a budget of 2,000. I've got a budget of 5,000. What do you suggest? What should I do? And I basically I'm not telling people how to suck eggs. I'm just documenting what I'm doing, and it might help some people along the way. And if some people get some value out of it, then great. And I've got a few interviews lined up with some key players in various industries. And now I don't just want to talk to people in the space that I'm in. I'm talking about all walks of service life, whether you're doing service and repair on kitchen appliances, or you're a dog washer, or whatever it may be. But home service is home service, and I think there's a story to tell in any service business. And for any of your listeners out there, if you're in that game and want to have a chat about what you do, then I'd love to have a chat about it too. So that's the whole idea of that, is to sort of help people along the way, is in conjunction to running my own business on the side. Yeah.
So the own business, Total Service Pro. Are you actually hands-on doing those jobs yourself?
At the moment, I am, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is a big change of pace from corporate life, Joe.
Yeah.
Desk for the better part of 8 to 10 hours a day. And then, yeah, I'm enjoying it, mate. I live in the country. I'm on 5 acres. I'm pretty hands on around here at the best of times. But look, long term, Joe, it's not my foreseeable thing to keep in on the tools. I hope to build a team around me. I think one thing I've learned from my corporate life is you can't get dead. You can't reach heights and you can't achieve great success on your own. You need people around you. That's given, right? So I hopefully can build a team out at some stage, and I look forward to that. But yes, I definitely don't see to be on the tools forever, Joe. But help me learn the process, the job, the time, the costs, and everything else involved along the way. I think there's an element of learning here that I need to be a part of, and that's why I'm doing it. So,
mate, we'll get on to talking a little bit more about the future and the growth plans for the business. But as it stands, couple of months in, early days, how actually are you finding it? What are some of the things you're enjoying about the new venture? What are some of the challenges? How's it all going?
Yeah, I mean, it's what am I at now? Probably 2 months ish into the biz, I would say, and the first sort of 4 weeks, pretty hit and miss. I had a holiday booked there too, so I knew that was coming up, and I was a little bit like, how hard do I go all in before I have to go away for a bit? But a lot of my business to date has really just come off the current relationships that I have in place, whether they're personal, work related, people in the community, word of mouth. That's really it. I had done no advertising, no real like hardcore marketing up until a point, and that's where the bulk of it came from. And then I got back from leave, and there was absolutely nothing on the calendar, right? And I thought, all right, time to get back to good old fashioned basics and go sell some stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, sure enough, jumped in the car, out there for 8 hours, and no exaggeration, Joe, I probably drummed up better part of $6,000 to $8,000 of jobs in one day just from doing that. So I think that's certainly my method to my madness is selling. I mean, you can run ads, do all this, and we're going to have a chat with people. And I was calling on some businesses, and I'd ask them, how often have you seen anyone in this space come and sort of say, hey, can I take care of your external cleaning services, or do you have someone who currently looks after your windows? And their answer was zero. And this is why I'm documenting what I'm doing, because I think there's a lot of business fundamentals I've picked up over the years that are pretty transferable from industry to industry, and good old fashioned selling. I don't think you can beat those developing relationships with people and face to face contact and selling your services, mate. So yes, I look forward to doing more of that, because that's certainly where I feel comfortable, and that's a path I will continue forward, mate. If it sort of can develop some of those style of returns, I'll be all over it. Yeah.
So you were actually out there physically knocking on doors.
Yeah, I didn't even have my company polo, so I was going in a high vis, right? And I mean, about looking professional, that was not me, right? So, but yeah, a lot of people were like, "This is great. I appreciate you popping in," and just conversation started. I had a few people I met that day call me back later that day and said, "You know what? Actually, I've been thinking about that, and we do need to take care of our signage and better." And that's the game. It's not going to be 100% strike rate everywhere you go, but people need to know you. Someone once said to me, if you want to be a millionaire, you need to help 1 million people. So how are you going to, people want to know who you are. People have got to know who you are, and the only way you're going to do that is go say good day. I think relationships is everything. So
yeah. And personally, how are you finding that adjustment? From going from the big job, country manager at Graco, the corporate world, to out there pounding the pavements.
It certainly feels like a little like I've gone back in time a little bit, but I feel right at home doing it. I had no problem in my early days of a salesman. I got into sales when I was like 20, Joe. So I had I certainly got accustomed to people saying no, or I'm busy, or get stuffed. And you develop a thick skin over time, but you have to go knock on the doors. That is the game, and I don't think you can be scared of it. But yes, it was certainly an adjustment, because I is still in my position as country manager. I didn't really do any of that at the last reign, at my last position of where I was at. That's it. When you're a sales rep, that's your job. You're out there knocking on the doors, but But I think once you've got that skill set ingrained in you, it doesn't go away. So it just sort of helps develop over time. But yes, it definitely feel it is a shock to the system, Joe, in a big way, and starting from scratch. That is a big, big deal where no one knows who you are. No one knows your services. There's a lot of people in the industry that I was in, a lot of people that knew me. And I've gone sideways into a different industry and no one knows me. It's completely green, right? So, but herein lies the challenge, and herein lies opportunity, and herein lies why it's exciting. I think if I could document this and show people how they can get out of the rat race and do something for themselves and be their own person, then hopefully I can make it happen, and it can be a transferable thing for other people too. So that's kind of where I'm at.
And something actually interesting, I think you mentioned on the phone the other day when we spoke about one of the adjustments was, you've come from a large company where you had a big team and people around you to now yourself.
Yeah.
But, so one of my favorite things about doing what I do is I work as part of a team, and I see my sales job as, so I always say selling's a team sport, and I love the team element. How are you finding that adjustment? You're missing the team element a little bit, I think.
100%. I think that would be the number one thing I do miss about the corporate job was the team that we had. Without, we had at Graco there, still a great team. Everyone's still there, and it was awesome. And that was the best part about that world, I think, is hey, I'm thinking about doing ABC. What do you think? And you can bounce ideas. People are bringing ideas to you, and it's great. It's just people helping people. Really, that's what that is. But now it's like, hey, I got this good idea, and I'm like, is it a good idea? You start second guessing yourself, and you're like, should I do that? I shouldn't. But no, I've got a really supportive family, really supportive wife. She's been super great, and been a sounding board for ideas and things like that. But this is part of the journey. It is a solo game for now, and I just got to sort of accept that. It's I've got to have a little reality check too and go, we're only 2 months in, you barely started. I'd really say I'm only 1 month in, because by the time I got back from holidays, I started to really ramp it up a notch. And I've only done 1.5 days of selling, and the rest of all my business has just been referrals or all that type of stuff. So I'm very much in the infancy stage, Joe, but I think that's the exciting part about it. And but support and teams and all that don't necessarily have to be A, working for you, or B, family or whatever. But I'm in various Facebook groups. I know a lot of people that run their own business. I know a lot of industry people I've met along the way, and there's players in every sort of space. And I've said it before, but relationships is everything, and put yourself out there and telling people what you're up to and what you're doing. Sometimes that can be just a sounding board for what you need at that particular time. And that's a bit of the reason for the podcast too, Joe, in full transparency, is that no matter where I'm at, hopefully I can talk to someone about a particular thing that I've got going on, and have some advice that I can then implement, and then share that also as hopefully proof in the pudding, or let's try something else. So that's kind of how the two worlds are colliding.
Yeah, God, I listened to your first episode you did, and I think you talked about building a community with the podcast, and I guess that's a sort of to replicate that team type, culture and environment, because that community's you need it around you. You need people, as you say, that sounding board to bounce ideas off and support you, and pull you up when you're not on the right page.
Sorry, Joe. What works for someone else might not work for you, and or for the next person. But I think that's where you got to, not just take one piece of advice and then you sort of got to make up your own decision for where you're at. But let's bring the information together, and it can only help, I think. So, anyway. That's the plan, mate.
Super exciting, mate. Yeah, we've touched on a lot there. The current, and we've also mentioned Graco, your time there. I want to get into that a little bit. This is an opportunity for you to reflect a little bit. Look back on that period. You were there 12 years, I believe.
12 years, almost on the day that when I resigned. Yeah.
How do you? Not the easy question to answer. I appreciate, but how do you overall reflect on 12 years at Graco? What do you when asked? I guess.
I mean, it was great. I got nothing bad to say about my tenure there at all. I had a great time. It was I saw a lot of parts of the world I would never have seen. A lot of traveling. learned a lot. I mean, Graco has such a broad range of products that get them into so many different industries. I used to always say to people, there's competitors in all these industries in which Graco play in, but there's no one competitor that has the full suite of what Graco does. And I think that was the awesome part about it, particularly as I progressed through the ranks and I had a wider lens on the organization. Not one day was ever the same. You can be over here doing some painting stuff, and then you're over here in a lubrication application, and it just was different all the time. And I think that's why it was exciting. I think that's why I was there for so long, and I think that's also why a lot of people have been there for a very long time. That is a testament to what they do and what they're about. No, it's great, mate. I had a great time. Yeah.
And I know you progressed through the ranks there over the years. You started as a salesperson, finishing up country manager. Opportunity for you to pat yourself on the back here a little bit. What would you say you did well that allowed you to have the success you did with Graco? And this is more, the character traits, at the attitude you had, things that, skills that you sort of did that allowed you to have that success. What would you say?
Yeah, good question. As I think about it, I started there when I was 24, I think, or 26. I can't remember. 12 years. 24 it would have been. 36 now. So there you go. 24. I was a district manager or sales, sort of state manager, sales rep, all sort of equivalent titles, I guess, over in Western Australia, looking after a paint division at the time. And a year into it, I thought, this is a company I think I could make a name for myself at. But I quickly recognized that being a publicly traded company and the size that they were, in order to progress or take on anything further, that qualifications and some of those things in the background were regarded as very high bits of paper within the organization. I think there's a lot of companies out there like that. So, where, you could read, I'm sure you've seen it, Joe, in your line of work, that must have or highly regarded to have a degree in commerce or similar degree in XYZ. It is highly regarded in bigger organizations. So I didn't have a degree, Joe, but Graco half sponsored the exercise. So I thought, why not take advantage of the system? And I went out and did a Bachelor of Commerce degree majoring in marketing and management, solely because it would read the best. I think marketing and management, I thought the more words I could throw into a title, I would. Yeah. So I went out and did that. And then I studied full-time while I was working full-time. I was a single man back in the day. And I thought, I don't want to be doing this for 6 years. I know even saying 3 years out loud sounds like a long time. I don't really want to do it for that long. And I thought, I'm going to commit to full-time until I fail a subject. And if I fail a subject, that's a sign that I've got too much going on. And but I was, late nights, weekends. I was a single man back in the day, so I could do that and just punched it out. I got like a 48 out of 50 for one subject at one point. I thought, no, I'm in trouble. And I just had to do something and I passed. I thought, yes. So I got through and then got the ticket. And then literally, Joe, as I finished my degree 3 years later, I got the opportunity to become sales manager straight afterwards. And I thought, was it the degree or was it other things that I've done up until then? But a bit of a combination of both maybe. And so that was proof in the pudding that I sort of made the right decision there to help me sort of climb the ranks from there. But I also, when I think back of the things that helped me progress, back to your question, I have a tendency to go down rabbit holes, Joe. But I tried to not wait and this was my advice when I became country manager to other people within the company that wanted to progress, was not wait to get the job offer or the title to start doing the job or B, acting like you in that job, right? Okay. So let's use a sales manager as an example. What does a sales manager do? They lead teams to try and bring new ideas to the table. They try and lead national initiatives. They're trying to create a good culture within the team. There's nothing stopping you being waiting to be told what to do or looking for new opportunities or bringing new ideas to the table that could collectively help everyone, not just yourself or your local area. Sort of acting the part before you are actually the part, right?
Yeah.
Those types of things can go a long way, and it doesn't go unseen. I'm sure any other leader in any other organization that you're a part of would say the same thing, that stuff does get noticed, that you are going above and beyond the rest. And that's what I try to do is say, well, how do I become the best against my peers at the time? And then again, how do I become the best against my peers at the time? And it's not just necessarily hitting a higher sales target. It's being more involved. And, that team player comment gets thrown around a lot, but, team player is not just fitting in. It's fitting in with the local team, but it's fitting in with the company values and the company culture and things that are higher than you as well, right? So bringing all that together before you even get the, hey, would you like to become a sales manager or a leader of some sort of thing? I think that all helps, And then I did the degree on top of that, and then as timing had it, got offered a sales manager job, and then was successful there, and then I took on more and more and more until ultimately I led the whole organization, really.
Something I think about in terms of sort of career growth for people is, you can work for great companies. I love the company I'm at. You love Graco. They're a great business. They provide you the platform, but ultimately it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it was you that drove your career. You have to be the main drive seat of your career. You have to drive it. No one told you to do that extra study. No one told you to start acting like a leader before you were officially. It's ultimately it's on you. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, and it's making it known that, hey, I'm doing all this because I want to as well, right? Because I want to take on more. I want to do more. I'm ambitious as hell. Let me, give me an opportunity, give me a shot. It's making that known, but to say, hey, I really want to do something more, and then you look back and go, well, show me where you're doing more, what you're doing more now to help. Like where in your job now you're doing more. If you're not demonstrating that, your words aren't really backing up your actions, I suppose. So I did all that, and as I'm doing, I'm saying the reason why I'm doing this is because I hopefully can take on more. I understand maybe not now, but I'm going out and upskilling myself and getting a degree and doing all these things. And Graco encourage it big style, and I'm sure there's many other companies that would encourage it in a big way too. And I they help fund pretty much half of whatever you want to study. And I thought, why not take up that opportunity? And that exists, and I could see that no one was taking up these opportunities, and it's just like, well, if you want to, it's there, it's right for the picking. These are all things to help yourself. And but yeah, to your point, you have to help yourself, right? I think that in drive your skill set and drive your ambition and make it known that you want to do more, because to say you want to do more and not actually do anything except what you're paid to do, then well, you sort of get what you get, I guess.
Yeah. That's great advice, mate. We've touched upon, you've actually just touched on there about how you even acted like a leader before you were officially the sales manager. How did you actually find that transition? Because I think it's something I think about a lot. When a salesperson becomes a sales manager, for you personally, how did you find that transition? Any advice you'd give to someone as well that's maybe in the mix of that?
From going from a individual contributor, is what they say in the business, to becoming a sales manager. Yeah, two very, very different roles, positions, jobs, 100% completely different. Just because you're the best sales guy, I don't think necessarily could make you the best leader, right? Or the best person to run a team. There's two very different roles, I think. But the biggest difference is that it becomes a game of, I think when you're an individual contributor, it's all about you, right? You're like, I've got to hit my target. This is my area. This is my region. I'm growing. This is all my. Yeah. And then when you go to become a sales manager and you say, I'm taking over the whole country, it becomes a game of we. Yeah. It becomes a game of we. But if you keep treating it like I need this because I still have my budget to hit, and I, then I think that's when your culture can start to suffer. Your team don't trust you. It becomes a game of we. And that's what I always said to the guys right up until the day died. I said, I'm not here to tell you to do A, B, C, D. If you're expected to say, I want to do A, B, C, D. This is how I grow my area. I said, well, how do I help support you do A, B, C, D? That's the difference. Is where do you need help? Is it higher up things that you need help with that are a bit out of your area? Well, how do we help you be successful in this little area? So it's just a little change, I think, in mentality where you're not the most important person in the room anymore when you're a leader, and you might have the most influence over the organisation, but it's really the people at the face of the company, I think, are the most important people, and your job there is to help them be successful. And if they are, well, then you will be, right? That's the game.
Something other sales leaders have said to me before on that topic is when you ask them, your team, how can I help you become more successful, or how can I help you with X, Y, and Z, whatever, you have to actually genuinely care about that, right?
Yeah.
If you're just sort of going through the motions with it, it doesn't, it's easy to suss out that you're not necessarily being genuine.
Yeah.
It seems like a common thing. You really have to care about it.
I agree. And everyone has different motivating factors too. And some people, I think back, I had some guys say, well, I said, you're doing a great job. I think you're destined for more. You could do more. Is that something you're interested in? No, I'm actually very happy doing what I'm doing. This is all I want to do. I'm like, great. That's all you want to do. Then I know that's your lane, that's your game. And I just need to help you be successful. So then the only way I could sort of do that was help drive sort of national initiatives that would influence him to on a local level to bump it up. And the more I brought in for him, the more he trusts you back, and the way it goes from there. So, but I don't think you can be a good leader if you're not genuine. I think that's pretty obvious one. Right? It sounds so simple, but if your heart's not in the game anymore, then best to sort of move on. I think that's the point where I hit. Not that my heart wasn't in the game. I just was. Was time for me to put my attention and focus into something else. And I think I went out on a high, and I thought, well, this is probably now good a time as any. And I think corporate's one of those things, Joe, that they're going to be around forever. Graco's 100 years old in a couple of years. It'll still be around long before we're all not working anymore. Corporate will always be there, and I thought, there's ever a time I want to have a crack at life. Now is it. So here we are.
And over the 12 years, you mentioned you started when you were 24.
Yeah.
Now 36. If you sort of reflect back to that 24-year-old bloke who started out, how do you feel you've grown professionally? What skill sets and things do you have now that 24-year-old didn't have over that 12-year period?
Yeah. It's a good question. A bit more patience. I was 24, hot out the gates, super ambitious, and often wanted to move faster. And I think it can get you into trouble sometimes when you want to move faster with ideas or opportunities or this, that. You just want to move faster than the system works. You know what I mean? You can start to run into a bit of trouble. Like, I can't think of a specific example, but I remember being like, why is this sort of taking so long? And it's like, well, there's a series of approvals that things need to happen. It's not just a case of we flick a switch, Derek. You can't just go, hey, I want to do this, and then tomorrow we're on. There's a series of approvals and these sorts of things that need to take place first, and get really shitty and go, God, I'm just trying to sell stuff. This is my job, right? But patience. I think patience and planning, and just being a bit more. Once you understand how the game works, I think you can certainly live a little bit stress-free. I feel I was less stressed when I was at the top of the game than I was when I was a entry-level sales guy. I felt like I was pretty stressed. It's like, and I saw that in some of the sales guys, over my career too, that's sort of come and gone. I think that they got stressed over what I deemed to be really, really tiny things. And it's like I developed a level of patience over time that helped me deal with those things when you can stop and take a breather and think, let's think about this logically. Often they're not as bad as what they're made out in the first place. So, yeah, sorry, Joe, back to your question again. skills that help me develop. Is that what I'm talking
Or
about?
just things you have now that you maybe didn't.
The
Are
things
you?
that I have now that maybe I didn't. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, patience, big style. The ability to be more adaptable in situations. I think when you're selling stuff out there selling for the better part. Well, I started in sales when I was 19, so I was with another company before Graco. But when you've been selling that long, you learn to be a bit adaptable to certain situations. And not everyone acts the same, or not every environment that you're going to sell in is the same. Where you can't always go in with the same demeanor and mentality as you would with the previous guy or the next guy. Learn to be adaptable, I think, and understanding of the situation around you and who you're dealing with is something that can only come with time. If I was going to sell you something, Joe, how I'd sell to you could be different to the next guy who might be a little bit more official, might be a suit and tie kind of guy.
Yeah.
Everything's a sit down and let's talk about it. Whereas you're like, just pop in and let's discuss it when you're in the town next. It's a bit more casual, but you have to be able to understand and read the situation, who you're talking to. And you just, I can't come in to a suit and tie kind of guy and be like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? How's your weekend? They don't really respond well to that kind of. It might be a bit more formal type of person, right? So, being adaptable, I think, was something that I got better with in time. That's for sure. Being able to read the room, and and sort of. I remember in some selling discussions, I could sort of see where the conversation was going to go because I'd been down that path before. I could help lead it in a direction that I sort of wanted it to go. And again, that only comes with time. And I think that's when you got a good grasp on what you do for a living, when you can sort of predict the outcome from the get-go. Yeah.
And the next question, this doesn't necessarily have to be one sort of light bulb moment. It can be. But if there's one sort of career lesson you've learned to date that you sort of plan to implement, and not necessarily have a mantra moving forward, but something you want to continue to implement, let's say moving forward in your new role that you've learned over time. It could be maybe some bit of wisdom a mentor passed down to you, or a particular lesson learned, maybe made a mistake with a certain customer or something. Is there one sort of career lesson learned to date that will be that sort of guiding principle for you moving forward?
I don't know if there's one particular one that stands out. I can sort of think back to different times throughout, my selling career, of different stages of where I was at. You get a different set of advice to help take you back to that next step. But I think collectively, as it all boils down, one thing is I made a comment on it before, is don't wait for the next thing. And you can control your own destiny, but ultimately it all lands back on you. If you are visually striving for the next thing, or you visually want to be successful and want to wake up, being a sales guy is one of these things that you got to be motivated, and everyone has those days where you're not motivated, but sometimes you just got to show up. You just got to get out there and make it happen. If you're willing to go over and above, then you'll separate yourself from the rest, and I think then the world's your oyster. But another one I got to from I actually think it's from a movie. Maybe you'll figure out what movie it is, but I just remember the saying. It's act as if. Have you heard that saying before? Act as if. Just because you're not a CEO yet, Joe, doesn't mean you can't act as if you are, right? It's not necessarily going bossing everyone around, but sometimes it helps you overcome that imposter syndrome. Like we might be getting into it. I certainly feel it now in this new world that I'm in. Is it's like, I'm not, I haven't been doing this for years like some other people. I've just been in the world of business for a while, but I'm not a hands-on sort of tradie kind of person. But I've got to act as if, because that's the part, that's the role I got to play, and I'm not going in there tentatively. I'm like, you got to be confident and act the part, because that reflects, and people can see that, right? I think it can help overcome that imposter syndrome and that sort of any self-doubt you might have. So something I've always tried to do is, act the part, even if I didn't fit the part. That's for sure.
Just on that, you something I always think about. You probably maybe felt the imposter syndrome when you started this, as you say, this business, or started your podcast. But you're not a podcaster until you are, or you never knew how to sell equipment until you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, podcast is a classic one. I mean, I was overthinking the first episode, something chronic, and I scripted it, had all these dot points I wanted to talk about.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to, it's the first one. I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the points. And I went through many takes. And in the end, I was just like, it's as good as it's getting. I've just got to start. I think that's the game of business too, right? It's, I can think about this. I can have all these ideas. I can have as many napkin ideas as I want. But at the end of the day, I've got to pull the trigger. It's just, you just got to start. Now I've just finished episode 5 and I did it first take. I didn't even I had a couple of notes of like, this is a topic. It was like 3 dot points that I would scan to. The rest of it is just me just talking. And people who know me have said, oh, that's more you than what the first one was. I'm like, I get it, but I had to start somewhere, right? This is part of it. And hopefully I get relaxed into it a little bit more. But yeah, just the last 3 episodes have taken me, have been quicker than the first one by a country mile collectively, right? Because you just got to, and that's, you can liken that back to business and say, well, just pulling the trigger and starting and getting that first customer is always hard. But then hopefully you like to think things get a little bit easier. You get a little more confident as you progress and you get into it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely resonate with that, especially with this show as well. I was, first I was planning episodes out and planning and I was like, no, right. But it was just an idea at the moment in my head. So right, let's take some action on it. First day, right, today I'm just going to buy a mic.
Yeah.
I'm just going to buy a mic. That's it.
Yeah.
Next day, I'm going to come up with a name. It was just get the ball moving. Just get the ball moving. And then
turn in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
I love what you're doing, Joe. Just quickly credit to you, mate. I think, I've known you in the recruitment business for a while. And in fact, you got your own podcast and I love the name of it too. And what you're doing and bringing a bit of collective experience from various industries back to the recruitment world. I love it, mate. So kudos to you. Well done.
Appreciate it. We've touched upon the past, what you're doing in the moment and present. Right at the start, you mentioned about the future and the growth plans. What is the sort of the vision for the business? What does the future hold for Derek Wardrobe and his new venture?
It's early days for me here, but this is the plan is to keep rolling this into and hopefully create something out of it. Whether it's a big conglomerate, I don't know, or whether it's just enough for me and what I want out of life, then that's also good too. But look, I'll keep. I called the company Total Home Pro, right? That's the name of the business, and basically, I want to be able to. You think about the services a home needs. I want to eventually have a service for just about everything someone needs, outside of like qualified trades, electricians, plumbers, anything you need to study for 5 years to get the ticket, right? So carpet cleaning, internal cleaning eventually. I was just talking about oven cleaning the other day. Like there's just oven cleaning businesses out there. That's all they do, solely oven cleaning, right? You think about, I think once you're in the home, why not try and capture as much of that home as that's available, right? So various range of services, and I'll keep building it out, and it's just me for now, but I eventually want to get a team where we can, maybe I'll look at, if I can get the model good enough, then, franchising is not off the cards for me, where if I can have Total Home Pro pressure washing, Total Home Pro gutter cleaning, just separate sort of little franchises, or they can have a modular style franchise. These are all sort of macro ideas I'm tossing around in the background for now. Hopefully we'll keep marching on down that. I'll keep doing the podcast in the background, and that's just documenting my journey along the way where I'm at. So today's episode not out yet, but I was just talking about equipment and my advice around equipment. Would I buy it? Would I hire it? Looking back, I probably should have hired before I went and bought, but these are the things I'm documenting. These are the things I'm learning. And I'll continue to do more of that as I move forward. And I like it too, because it's holding myself accountable to whatever I'm at. If I said I want to go do something and I record it, I'm kind of instinctively going, you got to go do it now, Derek, because you just broadcasted it, right? So that's why I kind of like it too. That's it's my community, it's my team of vocalizing what I'm doing, which I've always sort of done.
Just to pick up on something you said there, you're doing it to get what you want out of life, and it leads me nicely on to my final question for you. And it's kind of around my typical closing question, by the way, on this show, the idea of success. What
Yeah.
does success mean to you in your life? And that can be, professionally, personally, whichever way you want to take it.
It's a good question. I think it can be as loaded as you want it to be. You can go down many different avenues. The success of my 24-year-old self when I started was very different to what it is now. And, I mentioned I've had a super quiet month in the lead up, getting organized and doing all this. And it was totally a different change of pace. But I had a lot of other successes in life, which I hadn't had before. About my daughter just started school and I could take her to school and pick her up. And I was doing that nearly every day and spending way more time with the kids. I used to spend, I was on a plane nearly every 2-3 weeks for the better part of my whole life, right? That's just, I was gold with Qantas and Virgin. That's how much I was flying, right? And so I'm having a lot of different success at the moment. A lot of little wins that they're not non-financial successes, but, you got to treat them all as successes to help and wins, and to help get you through that next stage. And what does success look like to me is, it's bringing all these parts of your life together as one collective, unified piece, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's family time, it's good career, it's your health. I think that your health is number one. That certainly suffered for me in the corporate space because you're just so busy all the time, and early mornings, a lot of travel. You tend to eat pretty shitty when you're on the road all the time, and that's something I've tried to change a little bit more, is getting a little bit more health and wellness into your life, because that just flows onto everything. And so bringing all these aspects together, I think, is the ultimate success.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you can be, and I've seen it before, even at Graco or in other corporates. They might be really successful guys, but it's pretty clear that other areas of their life might not be successful. Whether they were unhealthy or whether they're telling me that, I've always missed my kid's birthday because I always have to travel internationally at this time of year. I'm thinking, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if that's for me. So I think success is, you got to bring all these parts of your life together.
Balancing them out. It's sort of, and I think it's, for me, it's, I always think it's about actually being okay when maybe something drops, whether it is my work performance. I want to do well, but it's actually okay. It's not the end of the world. Or like if my health has dropped a little bit, it's important for me. I find it impossible just about have all of them firing at one point. Just learning to be okay, to be
100%. Something's always given at the time, or I started off good on the exercise front when I left, and since my holiday I've dropped the ball again, and I've consciously, I know I've dropped the ball again. I'm like, God, come on, Derek, you gotta ramp it up again. But that's all part of it, mate. And it's what does it ultimately look like? Well, it's business life's good, work life's good, home life's good, people around you are all good. I think that's I'm a simple man. There's not much more than that.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect note to finish this show. Derek, thank you very much for joining me today. Doing some great stuff. Wish you all the best in the new venture. You listen to this, go check him out. Go check out his new business. Go check out his podcast and follow along. He's doing some great stuff, and I appreciate everything you shared with me there as well. Definitely took a lot from that personally. So Derek,
well
thank you very much.
Again, Joe. This is a great platform for you, mate, and I appreciate everything that we've done together in the past, mate. So who knows? Hopefully can use you to hire some sales guys for me in the future.
Absolutely. Stay in touch. Thank you, mate.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.